Hey guys, welcome back. It's Grim with another video for Raidshadowlegends. Today's going to be part 2 of the Hydra guides, or I suppose top 10, right? So let's get into it. You know, if you've not seen the first video, I will ping this above and you can watch that, and I'll also ping it at the end of this video as well. So as I was talking about in the last video, just a bit of a recap. We're going over the top 10 Hydra champions in 4 different categories: Revivers, Bait for Mischief, and the Provokes for DK, can do the same kind of job. DPS and HP Burn or block buffs. So again, this video is going to be mainly on DPS and HP Burn and block buffs for the 2 categories. So I'm going to start with the DPS champions, and before I start, I'm going to say that I don't know where he's going to scale on this because I haven't used him, and this is mainly on my personal opinion on champions I've used. But for me, Supreme Gaelic is a strong contendant for DPS champion or HP Burn champion. For this list, I haven't really put him in anywhere, but I do think he's a great candidate. I'll have him on HP Burn list, so there you are. So again, I think he could do great DPS as well. So number 10 is going to be a champion that everyone can get for free. Just take a bit of work, but he is worth it. It's going to be Koronag. Koronag has a really good HP Burn kit. He does take a bit of gear to require, but I think as a HP Burn, I think he's a good start for anywhere to start from. So for me, HP Burn champion, sorry, as a DPS, I think he's great. For number 9, it's going to be the one and only Queen of Arena, who has sadly retired. It's going to be Trunda. Now, some of you might be surprised Trunda's so low down, but I think she's really good in hard and normal, but I don't really see her anywhere above hard because I don't feel like she does enough damage for the head, and I feel like other people in this list just do more damage, more raw damage, or they're using other abilities or have better survivability than her, and this is why she's number 9. Number 8 is going to be a fusion who recently has just gone, and I've just built him out and think he's a great champion. So that is going to be Mr. Rat. Now the Rat has bombs and poisons, and he's a really cool champion for Hydra. Again, a little bit like Trunda, he does have, I think he's limited, but for me he has really good synergy with a lot of champions. I think there's still a lot for me to kind of play with. So for number 7 as a DPS, sorry, number 8 as a DPS, I think he really is a good champion. Number 7, I'm going to get some hate for this. Jace is going to hate me for this one. Is going to be the one and only Ninja. Now Ninja is a HP Burn champion, but also does a lot of raw damage from this ability, and he just goes absolutely nuts, and I think like he could even be used in Nightmare, but other champions just outshine him from that raw damage. So that's why he's so low down, and how much utility the other champions bring. I feel that he's a great champion, but he's very limited and a lot of people don't have him. So for me, he's number 7. Number 6 is actually a duo, and I think they're amazing, but when they're together, and it's going to be Venus and Cubitus. So Venus can strip when she's with Cubitus, Cubitus can counterattack. They both have HP Burn champions. Venus is amazing overall. I use Venus a lot, but I don't use Cubitus a lot with her. But for me, she's in my Nightmare team. She's really cool. And I just like their synergy together. So for me, as DPS champions, I've seen them recently being used in Nightmare as well. with the right team set up around them. So for me, they go number 6, and because they get used in Nightmare and Brutal, and they always don't, so they are higher in the rankings for my personal opinion. Now, number 8, I think just has better survivability, but he's also going to be this dude. Now, I can't pronounce his name, but he's a really good champion. He has the AoE defense down here, and he has a Hex as well. This guy goes nuts for damage, so for me, he's number 5. He has better survivability, so that's why he's just slightly ranked more than Venus and Cupidus. I think it was a hard decision to kind of choose between us. So yeah, for me, this was a hard one, so he is number 5. I then think number 4, 3 and 2 is personal opinion. But for me, number 3 is going to be one and only, and probably one of my favourite epics in the game now. It's going to be Husk. He has Provoke, so it brings quite a bit of utility for DK. But he also has a great nuke here as well. He's amazing in Spider 10 and other places as well. So since I'd say he's a really end-game champion, because he's not that good in Faction Wars, but in Secret Rooms as well, there's quite a lot of Secret Rooms where you can use him. So for me, he's number 4, and it was really hard to kind of rank these between the order, especially number 3 and 2, which is going to be probably surprise you guys a bit more. Number 3 is going to be the one and only Royal Guard. Royal Guard hits harder than Husk, and that's why I ranked him up there. I think he's also easier to build, and I think he's great in Reflex, Relentless and Refresh, and he's just a great champion. He's really, really good for these 2 abilities, so for me that's why he's slightly higher. Again, number 2 is kind of an interesting one, so I think you could argue this out. And sorry Ram for mentioning this, but I think that Geo is just the second best nuker in the game, DPS champion, because of his passive. If you've got Samuel out on Torment, you put him in a lead, he can basically just demolish all the heads. The problem with him is you can't really use him on auto. I don't think he's that good on auto, because you need to make sure he will just keep putting the HP Burn out. And he's not really good with other HP Burn champions, but if there's a poison cloud, he can pull it up. He can strip the reflection off with this ability, and then he also brings a decreased accuracy as well, which is a really cool ability. So for me, Geo just takes the edge on number 2. I don't think, staying in the same faction, I don't think this is any questionable. She's in the world record teams. She's the hardest hitting enemy max HP champion. She's just absolutely broken. The best P vs C champion in the game, in my opinion. She really just makes heads spin. So for me, Charisma is better, and is the best DPS champion in the game, in my opinion, for Hydra. So for me, yeah, I really like her. Yeah, it was really hard to kind of pick that one, but I think she's really, really cool. So we're now going to go over to block buffs and HP Burn champions. There's a lot of champions that put up block buffs, but don't really bring any of utility. So that's why I kind of put them together. So champions like Umbro, who's amazing as a block buff champion. A lot of people maxed her out. A lot of people built 3 of her. I built 2 more on top of my first one, and we all ran her in Hydra for a very long time. So for me, there's a lot of champions to choose from. There's a lot of HP Burn champions that I've not mentioned. Champions like Ignatius, Theo, Dreadwalker, or whatever his name was from. I haven't put them into this list. I don't really see them that much. But you could argue they could be number 10 and 9. So number 10, I'm actually going to just call this out. So I think number 10 could be any of the champions I mentioned. But it's also going to be the champion I don't have. It's going to be Ultimate Gaelic for me, with the block buffs and decreased speed and HP Burn. It's really cool ability for Hydra. We don't have hardy hits really, and his survivability is a bit thin, but I think for like hard and normal, I think he'd be great. I think he'd be definitely be usable for brutal as well, but I can't really see him past that. I haven't put Geo in this list because he's only got a single HP Burn. I think he's more of a DPS champion from the passive. Number 9 is going to be an Epic. I think he's really good. The problem is he's just squishy, so he can put his HP Burn on the Poison Cloud because it doesn't place, it is placed, not hit, and he's a really good champion. So for me, he's number 9, and he's definitely good. I think if you're not using him and you're struggling in Hydra, then he's definitely up there. But just don't mix it with champions like Geo or Ninja, because he'll just override HP Burns, and it's kind of a bit pointless then after all. Number 8 is actually going to be a buff champion. Now I haven't got around to using the video, but I've seen damage from a HP Burner, and I really like a kit. She has the Leech, she has the Hex, she has the Resistance Aura, which we spoke about earlier, how good that is in Hydra. So for me, she's number 7. Number 6 we already spoke about and we covered earlier, and he can kind of just do both roles really well. And it's going to be, again, sorry Jace, it's going to be Ninja. I think Ninja is a great HP Burn. It's not AoE, and I think that's why he's not higher, but he has got great damage potential, and I think he is a great champion overall. Number 5, again, I think there's number 5. Last time there was number 6. Number 5, again, is Venus and Cupitus, just on how much utility and stuff like that they bring between them. I think that they have great synergy, and they're both just really strong champions. So for me, they definitely go up there, and I think they're underrated. So number 5 is definitely up there. I think this is one of, sorry, I missed out number 8. Number 8 is actually going to be Coronog. I think a lot of people haven't realised his potential yet, and I think that he just brings something a bit different. He's a little bit difficult to get hold of, and if you would like to see any deals and stuff like that, I do some deals on this guy to help you earn him. You can check out my Discord for that, !Discord if you're in my stream. But for me, he's number 8, and I think he could possibly be higher as well. Number 4, who was mentioned in my first video, is gonna be Mighty Ego. Now, if his block buffs were just more consistent and it was 100%, I think he just goes on all the time. So it says here, attacks all enemies. Each hit has a 75% chance of putting 2 random buffs from his target. Places a block buff and that on that first. So he strips and then puts them on. It's a good ability and it's good, but I still would run a block buff champion with him, or at least Lydia with the 83. So for me, that's why he's so low down. Number 3 is going to be a champion you guys probably don't suspect, but she's pretty nutty for Hydra and a bit underrated. It's going to be Cecilia. Cecilia can do a lot of damage, and she can definitely work like a Venus with this ability, with HP Burner, Weaken, and this here. And she brings Accuracy Aura as well. So Accuracy Aura is just as good as Resistance Aura in Hydra. Definitely welcomed. And I think that she has, again, great She has great damage potential. I've seen her pull off like 25 million. She's a bit squishy, but I definitely think you could build survivability in her very easily, because she doesn't do a lot of damage, raw damage, but as far as I'm aware of, but she does do a lot of damage from that HP Burn ability. So even if a lot of people are not using Spider now, she's very niche in Spider 10. You need certain champions, but she can be used there, but it's very niche. She definitely does offer a lot of things here, so for me this is a great champion to use, and if you're not using her, then pull her out the vault and get her used. Number 2 is a bit of a situational champion, but overall she offers great utility, one of the best Hydra champions in the game. She's hard to use, but she has a AoE block buff here. You do want to wait that for all the buffs to kind of drop off on the head before you put this on. And yeah, I think number 1 just has more potential. I think she's easier to build, but with the right team synergy and the right experience with 2-pack Rwanda, I think she's a great champion, and probably even maybe even better than number 1 overall for utility, but for block damage she's not there. Definitely one of the best Hydra champions in the game, as well as really good synergy with Krisk and Venus as well. If your Torment pops out and you're halfway through a run, she definitely can handle Torment very well. That's why she's in my Nightmare team, because if Torment does pop out, she's dealing with her, you know, like, she's got it, and gonna keep me safe with my ability, especially when using AoE champions on the E1. And the last one, who is, again, didn't really get a lot of light on her, but I think she's definitely probably the best epic in the game for Hydra right now. It's going to be Yugo. I don't need to say any more. She has block buffs, she has increased defense. I would say most of us would say that the hardest rotation for Hydra is when you can't use her because she's weak affinity and she's not consistent on the heads. She has a AoE cleanse as well, which is really cool, as well as a with a revive as well from the passive. So it's very situational, but it does work, and she has got a small leech on E1 as well. She's great potential. She's just great in Relentless overall, and again, small cooldowns for the abilities that she offers. So yeah, there you are. That is the top 10 DPS champions, HP Burn and block buffs. Hopefully this helps you guys to kind of understand Hydra a little bit more. We could talk about team synergy more if you'd like. I'm more than happy to do that. But yeah, there is definitely a few things to keep a note out for when you're doing Hydra, and if you are struggling with Hydra, you can always jump in my Discord and ask me for some advice, and I'll give you some advice, or pop over to my stream, grimreapertvraid, where we do actually run a lot of Hydra within stream as well. And there's also you can earn yourself a nice Hydra takeover for free as well in the right conditions from channel points. So there we are. I hope you guys like this. I hope you enjoy this content. On the last 2 videos, if you've not seen the first video, make sure you go and watch it. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe. It just really helps support the channel, and allows me to bring you useful videos. So yeah, hopefully you enjoy, and I'll see you in the next video, which will be Wednesday. So yeah, got a treat in store for you. Until then, peace.